Delivering up to 7,400 megabytes per second of throughput, the DRAM-less SSD design sips just a fraction of the power of traditional enthusiast-grade SSDs. Plus, it stays remarkably cool, with our SSD expert John Coulter writing, "This thing just doesn't get hot." To win your very own award-winning Patriot Viper Lite 4TB SSD, subscribe and comment on the YouTube video for this week's Tweaktown show, and email ttshow@tweaktown.com with the subject line Patriot Viper giveaway. That's ttshow@tweaktown.com. For more information, head to tweaktown.com. Hello, welcome back to the TT show. You are joined by Jak Connor. I'm a hardware editor over at Tweaktown, and my co-host
Kosta Andriadis, gaming hardware editor at Tweaktown.
And this week we have a massive week for news in the technology and gaming space. Starfield mods are starting to pop up around the internet. Apple has officially unveiled its next generation iPhone and next generation Apple Watch, and we're going to be diving into both of those. The Nintendo Switch 2 is reportedly going to get DLSS. Steam hardware charts and data for August has some changes in NVIDIA's favor. Microsoft has announced a new Xbox credit card, and SpaceX is ready to launch the world's largest and most powerful rocket. Let's get into it.
All right, let's kick it off with Starfield. And so I've been playing pretty much on and off since episode 2, but also continuing to test GPUs in between that.
Do some work.
Do some work, play some Starfield. And it definitely is. The more you play, the more I'm getting sucked in by its world.
Yeah, I've played probably another 45 minutes, if that.
I thought you were going to say 45 hours. I'm going to be like, holy shit.
Yeah, no, I'm in it.
Just coy about it.
I'm mostly Starfield at this point. No, I've probably played another 45 minutes. And after our conversation last week, just discussing like the ins and outs of how it feels to be in such an overwhelming world, I'm starting to feel more in control, I think is a good way to put it. Like, I've just, you know how you were saying last week, it's like, just go do something. Like, go do whatever you want. As soon as you're able to, just start doing whatever you want. That's what I did. I actually went to the moon, which was funny. Yeah, that was nice. I liked that. But yeah, so what have you been up to in the game?
Yeah, so going to the moon is how I found out, like, well, obviously, I mean, Earth looks weird in the game, and, you know, not going to do spoilers, but Earth is very different to Earth now in the year 23, whatever. But yeah, landing on the moon and looking up and going, oh, that's the Earth there. Definitely looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
I should go fly and check it out too. Yeah. I've been, like, I'm almost to the end of the UC Vanguard side quest line. So a lot of Starfield is kind of like Skyrim. So if you remember, like, in Skyrim and Oblivion, they had, like, the Fighters Guild, the Mages Guild, the Thieves Guild, the Dark Brotherhood, all these different, assassin groups, mages, and they had their own quest lines that were basically video game campaigns that weren't actually the main story.
Yeah.
So in Starfield, one of those factions is the UC Vanguard, and they are essentially the space cops, or I guess the form of government, security forces, maybe UN security forces, NATO, or whatever that is for the galactics. And so their quest line starts off pretty low key, but then quickly evolves into, it's like pretty epic. Like, I think it's one of the better Bethesda stories.
Oh, really?
I've experienced. Like, it's like goes into like the old, wars and them using aliens as weapons, like xeno weapons, and then you're tracking down these old research scientists and then war criminals, and then there's like a new threat that appears, and you've got to start up this lab that's been closed for like since the war, and
that's awesome.
So it's all this like cool stuff that's happening, and it takes you like all over the place. It takes you to all these different planets in Alpha Centauri, and takes you to Mars, and a research base there, and things like that. It's really cool. Yeah. So like I'm just doing that.
Was that part of when you got again, to link it back to last week's episode?
That's different.
That's different.
That's Crimson Fleet, which is like this, like the pirate, sort of like the pirate faction.
Yeah, so
there is,
that's when you got the
there's-
contraband on the ship. For those that haven't listened to the previous week's episode, so that's a completely different quest line.
Yeah, I think once you find that sort of like quest or through line that grabs you, you're like, oh, this is an interesting story. Just follow it. Like, try not to be distracted with all the other things.
Yeah,
so I've just been doing that and ship stuff.
I'm just kind of, I suppose, just exploring each of the worlds. And just
That's exactly what I did early on.
Yeah, I just wanted to see like what kind of different flora and fauna is on each of these planets. The enemies, I wanted to see if there's like variation in the mobs that I'm dealing with, and again the flora and fauna compared to the other planets out there. I haven't really experienced it, so I can't really speak from a first person perspective, but there has been some chatter online, and this could be people that are just against Starfield and maybe even Bethesda as a whole. Is like the mobs, there isn't a lot of variation. Can you speak to that on a like being 50 hours in?
Yeah, there isn't. Yeah, like in terms of like different types of aliens that will attack you. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different kinds, but they're either going to just charge at you and swipe at you, so they're not going to be, they're variations on a theme, so to speak.
Okay.
But I guess the other big thing about Starfield, and kind of like what differentiates it from Mass Effect, which is probably my favorite sci-fi sort of video game.
I've never played it.
Yeah, so Mass Effect, BioWare's like great story as well, but that has aliens, right? In it, it has different races. So like when humanity started exploring the galaxy, they found these things called mass relays that allow them to travel between stars.
Yeah.
And, so they're kind of like ancient alien sort of like structures. And with that, they made first contact with different races, like the Turian and the Asari and all these that have really interesting backstories and histories. The thing about Starfield that is a little bit weird, not necessarily weird, but like an interesting choice, is that the choice that they made is that, no, there isn't sentient alien life in the future that Starfield presents.
Oh, really?
I mean, there probably is, like, and that's probably what the main quest where that'll end up. But when you start the game, it's like, like this is not a spoiler, but like within the first few hours, like this is it. It's humanity and humanity's factions and human colonies. So there are like, alien creatures, like dinosaur type things, bugs and crab things and, stuff that kind of looks like it could be from Fallout.
Yeah. I have encountered a few of those, but they, like, I think I encountered one. I think it was right at the start, and I think I was just introducing the player, or me, into the that there is aliens in the world, and it was just this like big tentacle thing just came out of nowhere, and I'm like, whoa, and it just gunned it down, and then, but that was basically it. There wasn't really, at least on the planets that I've been on and where I've been, I haven't really encountered. It's mostly like mercenaries or like just basically bandits.
Yeah, they're humans. So like, it's not like Star Trek. Like you're not going to run into like Klingons and Vulcans or like there's no like, federation of species or whatever is. I mean, I don't really watch Star Trek because I'm not a nerd.
Yeah, you're not a nerd. Yeah, you fool me, mate. We should talk about the ship building aspect of the game. I haven't touched this side of Starfield at all, but I did see some gamer manage to I would call this an exploit to its maximum. They've just outthought the game mechanics to the point when they have a ship that has made them invincible, and it's probably, the design isn't what you would think it would be. It is ridiculous. So this player noticed that all of the enemy ships in space that are attacking you, all of their shots hit directly in the center of your ship. So what they did was design a ship that had vacant air, or in space, vacant nothingness in the middle. It was, it was connected by, I don't even know how you describe this, Kosta. How do you even describe this?
They're kind of like just like,
I don't know what the actual components are, right? Either.
Yeah, they're basically just like rectangle modules. They're kind of like shipping crate modules that are connecting to create almost like a shell of a Rubik's cube.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just it just looks silly. I don't really think it's an exploit as much as it is a classic sort of gamer like outsmarting a Bethesda game. This is like almost as good as, so like in, I think it was Oblivion, right? So Oblivion, you walk into a store and everything that the shopkeeper is selling is in the room, right? Because it's like the way that the engine worked was that like everything is rendered. So if you buy it, it actually disappears from the room. So like items have to exist somewhere in that world. Anyway, that's kind of like how it worked.
Right.
And so like you could walk into a store kind of like now, like in the real world, like if you want to steal something, like it's there for you to steal. So like it's not just a text list of items to buy. So what somebody found was that, you know, it was just basically line of sight in terms of like you'll be caught shoplifting if the shopkeeper can see you. And so they figured out if you put a bucket over their head, they can't see you. Yeah. And it breaks their line of sight. And this still works apparently in Starfield.
Really?
It's a hilarious. Yeah, it basically it's just smarting the system, right? Because like the in-game character doesn't know that there's a bucket on their head. It doesn't know that their vision is now that they can't see.
Yeah.
Anymore. You know, so
I feel like this is a bit different though.
It's breaking the rules though. It's the same sort of thing. You're bending the rules to be able to do something.
Sure, but you're literally invincible at this point in space with this design.
Yeah, but like the catch is you're going to look like an idiot flying around in that ship.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, worth it. Worth it. Do you like the space combat?
That's what I'm just trying to get the hang of now. And yeah, the more I play it, the more I like it. But you really need to unlock skills specific to it. Like you have to unlock the skills that let you target enemy systems, because by default you don't have those. Like a lot of the advanced like ship skills, like stuff is a little bit weird because like you can't. All the skills are like really helpful, and you kind of like need to spend the points to make a lot of aspects of the game better. So like to make combat, like gun combat better, you need to spend skills in different guns and things that you like. To make traversal better, you need to spend a lot of skills in like boost packs and other things, so you can carry more or run faster or run longer and boost more, etc. You need to spend those skills, and it's the same with space combat. Yeah. So you need to like spend those points.
It's another testament to like the more you play it, the better it'll get. Hopefully for most players that are willing to go into it with an open mind and aren't necessarily bothered by spending a considerable amount of time to get the most out of their game. Like there is no right way to game. Everyone's personal preference.
That's why I think that spaceship like breaking the rules is perfectly fine.
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah,
I think it's hilarious. Like I'm a RuneScape player, so I know monotonous tasks like no other gamer.
Dude, my favorite game of all time is Diablo, right?
Yeah.
So I played maybe 4,000 hours of Diablo.3 and already put in, you know, a stupid amount into Diablo for one. That game's only a couple of months old, right? So like when it comes to repetition, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. So I'm happy to sit with a game enough to reap a reward later. But that's just me. Like some people are just into first-person shooter titles and they just want to get headshots. And I completely understand that as well. I've got 3,000 hours in Apex Legends. So
yeah.
I love me some headshots. Do we have anything else? Should we switch over to
touch on... Because, yeah, I mean, Starfield. But one interesting thing is that the official mod support for the game is not coming out until next year.
Yep.
Even though we're seeing headlines left, right, and center, even obviously on Tweaktown as well, about mods that are coming. So, you know, people have already added Star Wars to the game. There's a mod that replaces UC police with stormtroopers, and it's kind of fun and cool. There's a whole bunch of mods. There's the DLSS mod. There's other mods. You know, there's a whole list of mods that have come out, and there'll continue to be fun ones from now until the official mod tools come out. But the only thing that the official mod tools will do is that it'll give modders like full access to a lot of the game's mechanics and systems.
Yeah.
And I think it's not until that's available that we'll start to see a lot more of the advanced stuff, like because Bethesda have said with their tools, people will be able to create planets.
Whoa.
So you'll be able to pick a star in whatever system that's in the game, and you'll be able to create an entire planet from it.
Wow.
You'll be able to create all the spots on it. You'll be able to create characters. You'll be able to create quests. You'll be able to create your own galactic adventure. And
that is awesome.
That sounds amazing, right? That sounds like this is going to be another decade game potentially, just like just like Skyrim.
I wonder if you could, because the game isn't multiplayer, right? So I wonder if you could somehow create a world that, like, I don't know, and then you can jump in.
76, so maybe not.
Yeah, that you can jump in. Like, that would be awesome if you could. I don't know. Maybe like seed the world, or
yeah, I think there will be, because I think there was
because that's just so cool
for Skyrim or something like that. I think there will be, because like you want to be able to share your outposts, like visit, like like something like a visit function where I can come into your world and just join your instance sort of thing. Like you can invite somebody to your realm.
Yeah.
Like
because it just seems like such a waste of such an amazing capability if you can only enjoy it by yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if it's such an amazing mod, and like people will go to, like, gamers are going to spend pardon my French, Reese bleep that, spend a long time creating these planets that then they will want to do is share with their friends.
Yeah. But also as well, like, it'll lead to like a whole people creating like games out of the engine. So like even like, because like Fallout 4 is still being used as a pretty big mod tool, and same with like Skyrim. So there's Skyrim is like a decade old now, but the mod tools are so advanced. So there's a team that are remaking the Elder Scrolls Oblivion in Skyrim. It's called Sky Oblivion, and they're remaking the entire game, and it's actually pretty far along, and it looks really, really good. Yeah, I mean, what else?
Why? Aren't they remaking Oblivion, like, officially?
Yeah, isn't that that's the?
Are they actually doing that?
But yeah, Sky Oblivion is like fans are remaking the game in Skyrim.
I mean, each to their own. Keep it up, boys.
One of the cooler ones, there's like Fallout London.
Right.
So it's like this small team that are making Fallout London, and it's a complete total conversion mod using the Fallout 4. If you saw the trailer, you'd think, oh, it's a new Fallout game using the Fallout engine, because it's like set in London. They've added like the metro system, they added trains, and they added like all these British factions and like the Knights of the Round, futuristic version of like the Knights of the Round Table. It actually looks really, really good.
Wow.
And that's like going to come out soon. But like this will be the same sort of thing. Like you'll see people like, I think there'll be like Skyfield. So somebody will be recreate Skyrim in
Starfield. My god.
So you basically use a planet to create like the land of Skyrim. Like, you could theoretically potentially do it, I think. It'll only be a matter of time before somebody makes like Hoth, like, from Star Wars.
Oh yeah, they've
Hoth.
Already got the stormtroopers. Of course they're going to make Hoth.
Add like the Hoth base, add some AT walkers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be so much cool shit because it's planets. Because you can create a planet, you can create like this little ecosystem. You can create this like pop culture little thing that just stand on its own. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see where the mods go for this game, especially with them already like popping up occasionally online. And the official tools aren't even out yet. So it's like, I bet you modders are just itching to get their hands on those tools.
Definitely.
Should we go to Apple's new event?
Yeah, Apple's big appling.
Apple, Adelaide time started at 2:30, and that is when I started writing. Then
I saw you, like you actually. I'm like, whoa, you actually.
I was up until 4 a.m. Kosta covering this, and it was. I suppose I was just grumpy. Like, let's just at that stage, I was just like, I liked the event. It was a nice showcase, but at 4 a.m. I'm like, just finish the announcements. Jesus Christ. None of these announcements were really surprising to me, at least, because it was all rumored beforehand. Like, all of the rumors that I talked about in the previous episode came to be true. Besides,
the prophecy came true.
I think it is... The rumor was that it was the iPhone 15 Pro was going to adopt the A17 Bionic chip, and it's not the Bionic chip, it is the A17 Pro. And I think I've actually written that incorrectly in my article, because it was 4 a.m. and I was grumpy, and I need to edit that back, because I did some checking this morning just to make sure I got it up all right, because I was like, oh god, this is tough.
Oh, it's a fair effort to cover it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff. I mean, it's an Apple event, so it's the new iPhone, but a lot of the rumors are true, and
most of it
like
was
a major feature, but like Apple's going USB-C.
Yeah, so here's the top points for Apple's newest iPhone and iPhone 15 Pro. So the iPhone 15 will get rid of your Lightning port. It is going to adopt USB-C charging, but I'm pretty sure it is only limited to, I think, is it 30 gigabytes per second or something like that.
Okay.
They've got some weird limitation on it. I don't know why. They're tossing out the and I think
so USB 3C speeds.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They're tossing out the what is it? The mute to vibrate switch, and adding in an action button. So those rumors were true. And
that mute to vibrate switch, that was been around forever, hasn't it?
Yeah, that has been around for a hot minute. But they're trying to, like, Apple is slowly but surely moving towards basically a uniform device that has as little points of failure as possible. So that means your charging port, that means your volume up and down, and now they've gotten rid of the mute and vibrate switch for a action button that isn't actually a button. I'm pretty sure I didn't really get a good look at it during the presentation. They kind of like glossed over it, which was surprising to me. But I think it's like a haptic, I don't even know how to describe it really. It's a part of the outer shell of the phone, but when you press on it, you get a haptic vibration that goes into your thumb or finger or whatever. And there's a limited amount of options, as I predicted. You can't just program anything onto this action button.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Apple action button. I'll just do a quick Google of this just to make sure I get it all correct here for the listeners.
It does sound pretty cool. I mean, you got like an improved camera.
The camera improvement is big. We're going to 48 megapixels, I'm pretty sure, on the Pro and on the
Pro Max.
Yeah, and the Pro Max. They didn't really talk about the Pro Max that much,
which is good, because usually like the flagship has all these advanced features, and it's like, well, that one costs way too much, so I'll just get the regular one, please. Yeah, I'm just going to get the Pro. Deca, the vibrate switch, new action button. Where is it here? 6.1, 6.7 inch display, huge.
Yeah, it's 6.1. I think the options are 6.1 and 6.7.
Yeah, and it's actually using titanium as rumored as well.
All of the rumors were true. There was it was barely. I think that was only the processor. That was it. Which is bizarre. Like, usually there's something that's wrong where it's like, oh no, here's like a blind side. Nah, this was all on point, really. Maybe the colors.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was all rumored, but I think the A17 Pro chip is pretty impressive, because it's like the first 3 nanometer chip. Especially, and it's going to be produced in like an iPhone, which is like super popular, and they make gazillions of them. But they only say it's like the new CPU is only 10% faster, but the neural engine is 2 times as fast. So there's obviously going to be AI elements.
Yeah, well, they have
Or like
implemented ray
iOS.
tracing, which uses.
And that's crazy.
Yeah.
And what they're calling it, this is the part that's like took me by surprise. It's a pro class GPU. So I don't know what that means. They could just be throwing out terms.
Of course
They
they
say
are.
20% faster, 6-core design, hardware accelerated ray tracing, which is very, very cool. And I like I mean, it's going to be hardware based ray tracing. And they also said it's going to be it's going to natively run Resident Evil Village, which is on Macs. It's got Resident Evil 4 Remake, Death Stranding, and Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is out next month. I guess it comes out after the phone, or I don't know when does this come out.
Yeah, I was typing when they were talking about all of the gaming capabilities because I just wanted to get these articles up
That's bananas. Because you know, like I mean,
fast as possible. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Because like, you know, back in the day, like you look at a phone and it's like phone games are different to PC games, which are different to handheld console, dedicated console games. But if this thing is running like Resident Evil 4 Remake and Assassin's Creed Mirage,
these are AAA titles.
Exactly. This could be like more powerful than the Steam Deck, really.
Wow.
Quite easily. I think so. I mean, like, depends. I mean, they show like a little clip of Mirage, and it's running pretty smooth. If it's got hardware-based ray tracing, and because obviously it's different architecture and different, because you know Apple's not x86, so it's not Intel or AMD.
Yeah, it's all in-house.
Yeah, it's all in-house, and it's like ARM-based, I think. I don't know. I'm
pretty sure it's ARM-based.
Yeah, so it's 3 nanometer A17 Pro Bionic chip.
Yeah,
it is
pretty
impressive.
This is very. I was listening to it, but I was trying to type up the Apple Watch news as well as like the individual articles, and I was
wondering how they call it for the gaming side.
Yeah, I don't know because my iPhone. I've got the iPhone 12. I think it's the 12. I'm pretty sure it's the 12.
Yep.
And that gets damn hot when I'm charging it, and or if I'm moving like 4K video off of it as well. So, and I also think that
it's got dedicated AV1 decoding as well, and new USB so they can now handle USB controls. So you can plug in a USB controller.
Yeah, so we're going to see a massive, massive influx of new iPhone accessories.
And you can output 4K 60 over USB-C DisplayPort, I guess. Is that what that's referring to?
It's
pretty crazy.
That is nuts.
I don't understand. Like, it's just a phone, right?
Yeah, it sounds like a mini PC.
It sounds like you're describing like
a NUC,
Steam Deck 2 or something.
Yeah. Or like a mid-tier NUC.
And a crazy camera with a telephoto lens and
you can shoot. I'm pretty sure you can shoot 4K 120 on this now,
right?
Which is just ridiculous. I like the file size. I'm sorry. You can definitely shoot ProRes. And the files are massive on this. So that's why the rumors were right.
Yep.
They got rid of the 128 gigabyte model, and now the lowest model is 256 gigabytes. And I'm guessing
because the file sizes. Yeah.
I'm guessing that has to do with the increase in the megapixel of the camera, which then you can now shoot higher resolution video and photos, so on and so forth. Takes up more storage.
Are these things going to ship with like a USB-C to Lightning converter? Because obviously people that are deep in the Apple ecosystem, if you've got like a Mac, right, and you upgrade to your phone,
and
it's USB-C, and it's like, well, I've got a Lightning port on my Mac. Is that where you plug it in? I don't know. I'm a PC boy. I don't these Apple things.
What's bizarre is that Apple is. So I've got the Mac Mini sitting in front of me. That all uses USB-C. The only thing left now that is using Lightning to charge, I'm pretty sure, is the Magic Keyboard. This. Right. Yeah, Magic Keyboard and the Magic Mouse, which is a terrible, terrible spot to charge. You can't use the mouse and charge it at the same time.
Oh, that's just good design.
Look at that. It's just Terrible. And I think the AirPods last generation may
Right.
no,
Yeah.
no, they also use USB-C.
Okay.
So there's,
mean,
it's
that's
only the
fine.
accessories that are left now. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Leave a comment down below if I can't.
Yeah, this is Australian pricing. The iPhone 15 Pro starts at $1,849.
Yep.
With the iPhone 15 Pro Max, $2,199. So the iPhone 15 Pro is pretty flagship.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
As
it's got
it is,
Pro
yeah.
in front of it. Yeah, all of
It is,
their
but
Pro
this is,
stuff.
oh yeah, so the Max, which I'm guessing has the advanced camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, that starts at 256 gig, whereas the Pro you can get a 128 gig.
Yeah, I won't be getting the Max. I got the Max for the I think this is the 12 or 13. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But
Well, look at this. Apple offers a great way to save. I'm talking directly to you now.
yeah.
And upgrade to the latest iPhone. You could get between $300 to $1,200 in credit when you trade in an iPhone 11 or later and upgrade to an iPhone 15 Pro or iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Well, I may consider that, but I also may claim insurance on my phone if it magically breaks. And then
Well, you wouldn't want to have a video record of that.
no, we wouldn't. No, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine, but it is broken, like you can see on the back. It's enough to claim insurance, and I've also got a dead pixel, and that is so painful to me. And it also, when I'm typing, the dead pixel will just continuously press on the letter B.
Oh, right.
So the entire keyboard is... Yeah, it depends on if my hands are sweaty or like it's really hot or there's a lot of problems with it. There's enough to claim insurance on it, and then I'll just get the new phone and then sell the new phone, then go get the new iPhone.
I once had a dead pixel on an OLED, older one.
Pain.
And
that's pain, bro.
just one dead pixel, but it was basically the way it was dead was that it would actually just be on the white light version, so the brightest, like full brightness white light, 1 pixel.
Oh wow!
And so even when you put the TV in standby, that pixel would just sit there, just staring at you as you walk into the room.
Was it dead center?
Yeah, that's right, bitch. You want to turn this thing on?
I've had nightmares about worse things. Like that's just that is awful. Okay, I think we should talk about the Apple Watch. So this was actually quite impressive to me. And I really believe that they are trying to get people familiarized with gestures such as taps for the Vision Pro, which is, you know, if you've seen the announcements for that, they don't have controllers. It's all controlled by your hands and sensors from the headset itself, detecting where your hands are.
That's basically Apple's VR.
Yes, yeah,
Apple's high-end Quest Pro equivalent.
Yeah, but it's so much more expensive, and the tech is
so much more high-tech too.
Yes, it is full on. So with the Apple Watch Series 9, users will be able to click their fingers like this, and then they'll be able to answer and hang up phone calls. Also, I think doing this
like sign language,
essentially tapping your fingers twice will open up your app stack. I don't own a Apple Watch. My girlfriend does, and she does use the stack very often. So that's like, you can use the action button on the side too, and I believe this is how most people use their Apple Watch. Say you're about to start a run. You're like, okay, I've linked the action button to start run. And then you just like, okay, I'm ready to go. Boop. And then you've started your workout. And then as soon as your workout's ended, then you hit it again. You're like, oh, I'm done. So this is to, I suppose, move away from the button itself and get people familiar, not touching their device, but still being able to control it. At least that's my theory.
I think so. I think it's right, yeah, because they're obviously moving towards gestures, and it makes sense.
Yeah, and you can also ask Siri more in-depth questions. Pardon me. Such as like, how much sleep did I get last night? And Siri, I mean, she ain't the best put it out there.
She's all right.
She's okay. She's no Google assistant, but it's getting better. I'm pretty sure there is also a inbuilt.
These gestures will be good for us from the Mediterranean because we talk with our hands.
Oh yeah, you're going to be calling.
Hey, Esteri.
Yeah, you're going to be calling everyone.
Get a good pizza pie.
A good pizza pie. So I'll just read a little excerpt out of my article here. This new gesture allows users to simply double tap their fingers together to interact with the primary app. An example of this is an action will be hanging up or answering a call, opening an app stack, snoozing an alarm, and more. We will be following up with more articles diving into each of the new features, which I will be doing shortly after this filming.
Yep.
But yeah, so we've got, typical upgrades in the terms of like brightness. This is up to 2000 nits, which is double the brightness of the Apple Series 8. Probably the most impressive aspect of the Apple Series 9 is the new gesture, I would say. That was demoed.
Yeah.
That was, like, when I saw that, I was like, whoa, that's a big step. You got people walking around going like this at nothing. Like
and also as well, it's Apple's first carbon neutral product. I mean, obviously they can talk that up, but
yeah,
I mean it is important.
That was
obviously
a huge part of their presentation as well.
Yeah,
as they had actors on there. It was
who they have.
I can't remember her name. I honestly stopped listening and started to write when all that stuff, because I'm here for the tech. I don't care about your carbon footprint, to be honest. Like, you're $1 trillion company. It's all like, for me, it's,
you should be given back anyway.
Yeah, for me, it's like they're trying to save face. It's like your phones are being made in, like, they all contain cobalt from like child labor. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, you're doing your best to save the planet, but it's just like, I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way. I'm on the wrong podcast to be talking about something like that. It's like all your batteries are made from, I just stopped listening.
I know, it's a perception thing.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I know. It's also something that like the companies at that size have to be doing regardless.
Yeah.
It's not a pat on the back situation. It's like, yes, it's carbon neutral. Of course it has to be.
Yeah, it's because it's a Silicon Valley thing.
Mm.
Look at us. Ours is green. Okay. That's cool.
2000 nit brightness on the watch. It's insane. But then that's kind of cool, because then basically you could be in the brightest day. You could be basically walking around on the sun and you still be able to check the time.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, there's lots of little improvements for the Apple Watch. I think that was about it from the event.
There's probably a lot more that, Apple love to do, like a presentation and then just info dump in press releases.
That is true. Yeah.
And then you get like tech specs and this and that. But yeah, the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, they sound pretty impressive. I think like the thing is we'll keep tabs on its actual game performance. We'll check back in, because if they're saying it's got like, this brand new GPU that has dedicated hardware-based ray tracing, and it can play the latest Assassin's Creed, like I'm assuming that means it's going to be available when the game launches or close to.
Yeah, that's
playable
true.
on your phone with a USB controller, like what do they call them? Like the backbone type deals?
Yes. I've got one. They're very good.
So, yeah, and like a super bright display, Retina display, whatever version it is, like it'll probably look pretty nuts, right? Like
I think
those
it's gonna
backbone
look good.
displays are kind of like seamless. So like if it, like, let's say it runs Resident Evil and Assassin's Creed Mirage like perfectly, 60 frames per second with high setting style visuals, that'll be damn impressive.
That will
but
be
obviously, like, it's a $2,000 device, so it's not like a game console or Steam Deck that costs like a third of that. So obviously it does a lot more, but like just for a smartphone to get to that level.
I wonder how much battery you're going to be able to have by
that's the thing. Like, it's battery temperature.
Like, is it going to get hot? Is it like
it's titanium? Like what happens to titanium? Is titanium like a natural like coolant for a phone?
I don't
know as a
know.
material, because like if you use copper and
That's a conductive, isn't it?
Aluminum and aluminium.
Aren't they both conductives? Like, don't they?
Yeah.
Conduct heat very well compared to titanium. I don't know. I'm guessing. I've got no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. What's the thermal conductivity of? Okay, this is when you need a Star Trek nerd.
Yeah. I'm very excited. Oh, this is something else that for all the camera lovers out there like myself, we do have multiple different millimeters. So we can go macro now. We can go 13 mil, 24 mil, 28 mil, 35, 48, and 120 millimeter. That is nice. That is really nice. I'm very excited to be testing the Pro cameras out on the iPhone 15 Pro in macro, and I'll also have a very, very big soft spot for 35 millimeter. I love that shot. I love that. Sweet. Oh, that chameleon looks nice.
I would love an iPhone 15 Pro.
Just get on a plane.
And I haven't had an iPhone since the iPhone 4.
Oh, you're gonna be that's a big jump.
Yeah,
that's a big jump.
No, it's not that I'm still using the 4.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to make it sound like you were using it. Yeah, okay. We'll put the Apple press release in the
description.
Yeah,
and their full presentation link, so you can.
Yeah, so you can go
and
check it out.
Watch the celebrities.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff here now that I'm scrolling through it. This must have come out after I went to sleep.
Yeah, they drop all the press releases after.
Yeah, wow, that's huge. Oh, sorry, just before we get off of this, there is also a really cool feature. I just remembered it. It's more accurate Find My. You know the Find My app?
Right, yeah.
So if you have on your Apple Watch, say you've lost your phone. Mm-hmm. This new Find My, I'm guessing, update for the Find My app or feature for this watch, and I'm pretty sure it's on the phone as well, the 15, it'll tell you what direction it is. So instead of it being like, oh, it's at, and then give the address or like drop a pin on the map or something like that, this is much more precise. This is like it's in that direction. It's that way.
It'll be like the alien tracker in Aliens. Like,
yeah. Did it.
Phone. There it is. Fine.
Yeah, that was really cool. We should jump off this and go check out all of the Apple stuff. It was a massive event, very cool. Besides all the green stuff, So
the next big stories are left over from Gamescom, but all over this week, everybody's been talking about the Nintendo Switch 2. The Nintendo Switch 2 has been a long time coming. A lot of people have kind of like expecting it any day now, sort of thing. Like, it's like, when are we going to get the Switch 2? Because the original Nintendo Switch launched in 2017. So this is a report, so I'll just go through it. Next gen Switch uses DLSS to deliver PS5 level graphics. So the next Switch system looks to deliver some hefty upgrades over its low-powered Tegra X1 powered forebear, including ray tracing and DLSS support. Sources have told Eurogamer and Video Game Chronicle that Nintendo held private backstage meetings to showcase its next-gen system to developers at Gamescom. Now, they showed the high-end Matrix Awakens tech demo that was created to show off Unreal Engine 5 and flex the power of PS5 and Xbox Series X-like graphics. And they showcase an upgraded version of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild that potentially was running the game at a high resolution 4K 60 frames per second with high resolution textures or whatever the case might be.
Breath of the Wild or Breath of the Wild 2?
The original Breath of the Wild.
Oh, okay.
If this is accurate, then the next-gen Switch could deliver unpredictable levels of visual performance that far outstrips the current model and even deliver graphics that sit alongside the PS5 and the Xbox Series lineup, as reported by Derek at Tweaktown. And this new system is believed to release sometime in 2024, potentially in the holiday season. There's a lot to unpack there.
This is interesting.
But I think, like, just setting the scene. So the Nintendo Switch uses NVIDIA hardware. So obviously PlayStation and Xbox run AMD CPUs and GPUs, and NVIDIA aren't really in the console business when it comes to gaming. They're pretty much PC only, but they develop the hardware for the Switch. But the hardware in the Switch, the Tegra X1, dates back to 2014. It is based on the Maxwell architecture, which I think is like the GeForce GTX 900 series.
Oh my God.
Ancient, right?
Wow.
And it was in the original...
That's before
NVIDIA.
Pascal.
Yeah, it's before Pascal, and it was in like the original NVIDIA Shield, right? And one of the big things was that the NVIDIA Shield could run Doom 3.
Okay.
Right, Doom 3, which is 2006 or something like that.
Yeah, that's nice. No, back then though, it was impressive.
So we're looking at whatever it's going to be, right? So they're going to stick with NVIDIA. Potentially even just to retain backwards compatibility, right? So like, PS5 can play PS4, Xbox Series X can play Xbox One, PC can play everything. So that's why it's the best.
Of course.
But so with that, it's rumored, so if they're showing this, it's rumored that the next gen chip that NVIDIA is developing specifically for Nintendo is based on hardware that exists that's kind of like Ampere based. So it's the GeForce RTX 30 series like technology, so Samsung 8 nanometer, and it has obviously tensor cores, so it can do DLSS, and it will have CUDA cores and even RT cores for hardware-based ray tracing potentially as well.
Wow.
And so these demos apparently showed DLSS with ray tracing. The only question mark is that was it hardware-based ray tracing or was it Unreal Engine 5's software-based? But whatever and was this Matrix demo, which looks amazing on the PS5, you can't actually download it anymore. That was like an Unreal Engine 5 showcase. It was like photoreal graphics that came about the same time as the last Matrix movie.
Wow.
So whether or not that was like a downgraded version, whatever the case might be, but by the sounds of it, it looks like Nintendo is using DLSS to achieve a 4K output. Most likely in docked mode, because in handheld mode it will probably limit it to 1080p at best, or 720p still, because when you're looking at whatever tiny screen in your hand, 4K doesn't really.
Yeah, that's what
anything.
my question
Pixel
was.
Density doesn't really matter at that point.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question. Is what is the smallest 4K display that you know of?
Yeah, so 20, like if you just go and we're looking at monitors, right? Like
24?
I think you can get 24-inch 4K monitors, right? But at that point, it seems like it's...
Well, that's not handheld anymore, really, is it? That's like more like a backpack size.
Yeah. So, the Lenovo announced their new handheld, right? And that's like an 8-inch screen, and that's like 1440p, I think, or 600, 1440p or something like that.
Yeah, I think this will be 1440p upscaled with DLSS to 4K or close to 4K.
The thing with apparently, like, there's a rumor saying that they showed DLSS 3.5 as well because of ray tracing, and it makes it look even better.
It's got to be upscaling. Can't be native.
Nintendo are smart, right? Like, the thing is, Nintendo are never on the cutting edge, right? So, like, they don't release consoles that are the most powerful gaming machines on the planet. They haven't done that since, you could argue, the Nintendo 64, because it was
that's what I was going to
a
say.
weird thing. But, like, they're not in the game of, like, releasing the most powerful. It's economical. So, like, when they released the original Switch, the SoC, the Tegra NVIDIA chip in it, wasn't the most powerful chip that NVIDIA could produce at that time, right? It was just, like, the most cost-effective. And what developers have managed to eke out of it is pretty impressive.
Very. It moved 122
million. You got The Witcher 3 running on the Switch.
Yeah.
You got Doom 2016. You got all these games, right, on the chip that was,
Skyrim.
like I said, that first appeared on, like, the original NVIDIA, whatchamacallit, Shield, and it was running like Doom 3 and Android games or whatever it was running. And like on the Switch, like, it's pushing Witcher 3. It's pushing all these complex games. Obviously not at the fidelity that you're going to get on PC
of course.
or a PlayStation or an Xbox, but it's impressive they got it running. But yeah, so this kind of like begs the question, like, how much hardware grunt does it do? It still has to be cost effective. It still has to run in handheld modes, which means you're going to be limited by the power. You can't have like 3090 level graphics because you can't run 300 watts out of a battery.
True. And how fast is that battery going to be draining if it is even, let's just say it is running at like that display in handheld mode is 1440p, because most of our phone displays are, especially if you have the newer generation smartphones.
I don't think the handheld screen will go above 1080.
You don't
Nintendo
reckon?
They're not going to spend that much money.
Do you reckon it'll be 1080 120?
No, it'll be 60 max.
Really?
In handheld, yeah. You got to understand, like, Nintendo they're not cutting edge tech company. Like, they're not in the game of
but to 1920
that sort of
1080p at 120 FPS isn't cutting edge. That's noob. That's noob stuff.
In handheld, that drains like
the ROG phone can do that. That's a phone.
The ROG phone needs like an attachment with its own fan.
It's got its own fan. That's right.
This is a different level. Yeah, and plus the ROG phone costs 3 times as much as
that is true. Yes, no, you are right.
So like there's so many elements that go into it, right? But I think like the main takeaway to me at least is that it's going to support DLSS, and DLSS can be really, really impressive when you're pushing a lower resolution to 4K, or even to like it actually works pushing to 1080p as well. They could be leveraging DLSS to take seemingly like low level rendering and push that to 1440p, or push it to even push it to 1080p, or push it to 4K and make it look as good as or as close to native as possible. In some cases, better when based on the DLSS tech, which is continuing to improve, and it's way far ahead of anything else in the upscaling space.
Yeah.
So like, I think they're going to. That's like the smartest technology that Nintendo can use, right? Because it's like, well, hey, if we dock this console, right, we can overclock the GPU and pump like, an extra 15 or 20 or 30 watts into it, right? Because it's docked and it's running off the power supply. So you don't need to worry about battery life at that point. But that's still not going to be enough to go from rendering a 1080p image to rendering a 4K image, right?
Yeah.
But it's enough to push a bit of extra power in, and more than enough for DLSS to say, okay, I'm just going to upscale this to 4K, and it's going to look pretty much close to.
So you suspect that it will only, if this is true, we'll only see
like, speculation.
Yeah. If this is true, we'll only see DLSS in docked mode. We won't be in handheld.
I think it'll be in handheld too, right? But I think what will happen is that, like, I think because DLSS is power efficient too.
Yeah.
So, like, if you run a game at a lower resolution, depending on how your GPU is built, right? But like, if you're running, if you're not maxing out certain parts of your GPU, you are saving on power. And we see that especially, like, it's more prominent now in the new 40 series because it's such a power efficient architecture. NVIDIA's Ada Lovelace is that if you run a game at 1440p, and it's still kind of like maxing the GPU in a way, but it's going to be using a lot less power than when you're running it at 4K, maxing out the GPU. So what they can do is that even in handheld mode is that they can render that. Let's say it's got a 1080p, theoretically speaking. The Switch 2 has a 1080p screen, 1080p 60, and it looks really good, right? They can render the internal at 720 and use DLSS to output at 1080. You go into docked, they overclock the GPU and CPU, overclock the chip a bit, add a bit more power. Now it's rendering in 1080 and it's outputting at 4K. And DLSS is the magic that does that, right? It's like, oh, you're going from 1080 on the handheld to 4K. That's like, 8 times the pixel count. You're going from like...
That's insane.
It's like
this
if you
is
take
really
that out of the
interesting.
equation, because if you take that out of the equation, right, and then you've got the existing Switch, which doesn't have this sort of technology because it's based on older hardware. Like, even though it's NVIDIA based, they can't retrofit DLSS into the original Switch.
Yeah, it doesn't have the tensor cores.
But also as well, like just based on what the theoretical chip might be in the Switch 2. So like CUDA core count, which is like NVIDIA's, like, how many CUDA cores does this GPU have? Kind of like equivalent, like, a 3090 has way more than a 3080, which has way more than a 3070, et cetera, et cetera. It's not a linear, that's how much more power it has. But the Tegra X1 has like a couple of hundred CUDA cores. It's an old chip. That's what's in the Switch. Based on what people think the new chip is in the Switch 2, it'll be a chip with 2,000 CUDA cores, which is not even a ton, right? It's equivalent to like a 2050, 2060. It's like an old GPU, but it'll be theoretically like, 4 or 5 times more powerful than the existing Switch.
And
but
it's in a handheld
DLSS
device.
And then just becomes like 10 times more powerful.
Yeah, no, this is going. I really hope this is true, because this is going to be really interesting, especially like as we've been saying since we've started the show. It's like we've talked a lot about DLSS and how it is much better at lower. Well, it seems to be much better at lower resolutions, and like you can get a lot more
competing tech.
Yeah, then competing technology, and you can get a lot more out of it. It's going to be interesting to see what Nintendo does. Yeah, no, this is interesting. I think
Yeah,
wow.
But the other factor is that the Switch is probably Nintendo's most one of Nintendo's most consistently, I guess, most successful console
122
releases.
million unit sales.
Right. And one of the reasons for that is that it's been a great tool for indie developers to release pretty much any sort of indie game. But also as well, like, third parties have kind of latched onto it, right? So you got like a lot of big third parties releasing a lot of big games.
Yeah.
You got like everything from FIFA to like The Witcher 3 to even Rockstar releasing stuff. But the Switch hardware is holding them back, right? So they haven't been able to do what they've been able to. They haven't been able to release like one-to-one parity, sort of like, if you buy a game, the PS4 version, or you buy the Xbox One version, or you buy the PS5 version or the Series X version, the difference isn't going to be enough that anybody really should should care about, right? It's only going to be the fanboys that are going to say, well, it was, slightly faster on my machine versus yours, or yours is rendering at this versus this.
Yeah.
And you can't tell the difference, right? Who cares at that level?
This will be a big jump.
Yeah. But I think that Nintendo are going into the Switch 2 saying that because the Switch is so popular and we're getting so much support from developers, independent and big third-party publishers and everyone, that we need to cater for them. And if the only way to cater for them is to get it as close to the PS5 and the Series X as you can. Maybe not the Series X, but like the Series S at least. Like you need to get it to a level that's beyond, 10-year-old.
Yeah.
GPU
hardware. Yeah, well, just to correct myself, so the Nintendo, I'm just on the Nintendo website here. Hardware sales are for the Nintendo Switch 129.53 million units. The only other console that the company has released that has beaten it is the DS at 154.02 million units.
Wow.
But what is more interesting, and as it's links to what you were just talking about with the developer support and everyone wanting to make games for, or at least there's a large amount of interest in making games making games support the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo DS software, I don't know how they quantify this, but million units is 948.76 million units for the Nintendo DS, but the Nintendo Switch is 1,088,000,000 and 1 billion. What is that? 1 billion.
1.08 billion?
Yeah, 1.08 billion units for the software on the Nintendo Switch. So
that's insane. A billion games basically have been shipped.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah. So they'd be like, Nintendo make a lot of money off for every Switch that they sell, right? And have since day one. And the Switch hasn't dropped in price because it's so popular. They don't need to drop the price. Apart from you get sales here and there, but like the MSRP or the RRP or whatever it is in your region, hasn't really dropped for the Switch since 2017. If anything, they've released an OLED model and they charged a premium for it, even though they probably could have taken a bit of a hit and then released it at the same price, so to speak, as like an upgrade, but they didn't need to.
Yeah. I have the first generation Nintendo Switch.
They're not going to release a Switch 2 at a loss. Whereas Microsoft and Sony, I'm pretty sure, like that has always been the case, but I'm pretty sure with the PS5 and the Series X, either they break even or they lose money per console they sell.
And they pick up the money in subscriptions.
In software.
Yeah.
And they're in kind of like an arms race for like, people want the fidelity, or it's a two horse race at that level. And basically, they got to be affordable, but they got to be powerful, and they're just used to releasing things at a loss or breaking even. Whereas Nintendo's like, no, we're not going to lose money on a product that we sell.
No, I like it.
I mean, that's how they're sustainable, and that's how they can spend money to develop all these cool things. And plus, they're kind of like in a league of their own. So, like, the next Mario game doesn't need to look like Spider-Man to be good, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need ray tracing to be great. Like, they're just going to release like a masterpiece. Like, Tears of the Kingdom is not the most visually advanced title of 2023. It's a long way from it, but is one of the most visually impressive based on just the breadth of the game. It's like a masterpiece level game. That's what Nintendo does. So, like, Nintendo doesn't need the tech, but it's exciting to imagine what, Nintendo games with DLSS being able to push 4K, being able to push better fidelity will look like.
Yeah, I've always said that Nintendo has the most valuable IP out of the entire gaming industry, at least in my opinion, and they don't fully utilize it. And a part of that was that their consoles lacked the performance to be able to do that. And now we are starting to see, if these rumors are true, a leg up for the performance capabilities. So we could start to see, like, I don't know, it would be nice Nintendo is so protective of their IP, and I think that's their biggest problem, is that they don't want to
they don't saturate it, but at the same time, like, there's certain parts where, like, Mario, there's like Mario Soccer, Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Mario Party, Mario Paint, Mario,
like, those games suck.
Mario that.
All of those games suck. The only games that are good, that actually move units, are the ones like Super Mario Odyssey, like Smash Bros, for example. Mario Kart. Yeah, those games move. Like, they're system sellers. I will buy the next Nintendo Switch if there is a new Super Smash Bros. Smash Bros game, because I've got probably 10,000 hours in the entire series. Like, I have
Smash Brothers. Yeah,
I have gone through controllers, GameCube controllers, because of that game. But like that, other than that, and the Legend of Zelda games, I've played those. Yeah. They're great. They're system sellers.
But the Zelda games are kind of like the rarities, but that's fine. Like, Zelda, like, you want them to spend however many years they need to create their little masterpieces.
Yeah, they've got a lot of little system sellers, but like Mario Tennis, that game stinks.
The game stinks. Going back to like I think it was like the Game Boy Advance or the Game Boy Color. So they released like a Mario Tennis, right, for like handheld back in the days. Like, this is the 1990s, and it was like an RPG where you create your character and you go around the tennis academy.
You're joking.
And then you go into tournaments, and you level up and you practice. It was amazing, right? And then you play, and then you like go up against like Mario and all those things, right? And then they released like the home console version. I think, like, there's a GameCube version or something.
Is it Power Tour? Mario Tennis Power Tour?
I think for GameCube, yeah.
Yeah, for GameCube. Keep going.
Oh, yeah, but like the original one for Game Boy was like an RPG, Game Boy Advance.
Oh, right, okay.
It was a proper RPG, and same with like the Golf. And then the ones that they released for like GameCube and like then the Wii's, they're just like those multiplayer games that are just like throwaway.
It's really
which
funny.
You don't really care about.
It's really funny.
But yeah, they need to just create, like, if they make like a hardcore Mario Tennis RPG for the Switch 2.
You would like that?
Yeah, I would very much so.
All right, fair enough. Each to their own, I suppose. Mario Tennis and RPG. I'm just reading this here. Mario Tennis returns to the Game Boy with an action-packed tennis role-playing adventure game.
Yeah.
Clay and Ace. The Tennis Academy's budding stars learn that masked strangers with mad tennis skills have been beaten the best pros and have challenged the winner of the Island Open to contest on their own court. Oh boy.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It's like, why do you need to like fight monsters in an RPG? It's like, no, you want a sports RPG.
Yeah, you're right. No, yeah, I'm fully sold. That will be the next reason I buy if they announce the Nintendo Switch 2 and Mario Tennis RPG, I will be asleep out the front of my Nintendo store, my local Nintendo store. No, but very good things from Nintendo. Hearing this makes me very excited for the future of handheld consoles.
Hopefully this means that this is just the beginning of the Switch 2 proper leaks, and that Nintendo are planning to announce it somewhat soon and are going to release it next year.
Do you think this could impact Xbox sales and console sales?
Yeah,
like, if this is true, do you think some gamers are going to be Well, so let's say this is true. So now we
I don't know. Yeah.
Now we have more performance capability on the Nintendo Switch. Could we start to see games like Call of Duty, like Modern Warfare, and it's like, and is that going to pull away from traditional console sales from like both PlayStation and Xbox?
Well, because like Microsoft signed a deal to bring Call of Duty to Switch, to Nintendo consoles, as part of their Activision Blizzard acquisition, right? So that was like one of their concessions that they made. They started signing deals with all these companies, and they started a deal with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty, and everybody's like, well, the Switch isn't going to be able to run Call of Duty. But then people are like, well, but you know, that the Microsoft acquisition hasn't even gone through yet, right? I think it goes through soon or next month or whatever. And once that deal goes in place, the next Call of Duty will be the one that comes out at the end of next year. And if the Switch 2 comes out at the end of next year, it could potentially launch with a Call of Duty game.
That would be crazy.
Right? And that'll be like, I think the last time a Call of Duty game came on the Switch was like for the original Wii.
Wow. Oh, no, I played that. It was,
like a Wii.
What was it? It was World at War, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the one, yeah.
World at War. And Call of Duty, I think it was COD 4 as well, Modern Warfare.
Right.
And you had to shoot people with the Wii gun. And the sensor was always like, you know, completely in the wrong spot. It was fun. Oh, we had fun. It was good though. So that's an interesting thought. I'm just looking at the time here. Maybe we need to move along. We've got a lot of other stories to get through, and we don't have a lot of time left. So,
all right, I'll switch to let's go into like Steam hardware charts and like data.
Okay,
cool. We love data. And
we love data.
Top 10 GPUs currently being used by PC gamers.
If you don't like data, you're in the wrong podcast. We love data here.
We love data and percentages.
Ooh.
We love them percentiles.
This is sweet talking me.
So Steam hardware and software survey. So they release it every month, and it gives us a snapshot. It obviously you have to opt into it, so it's not 100%, but it lets us know what's going on when it comes to hardware. And surprise, surprise, or no surprise, when it comes to all Steam users, this is Steam users, including those on like Steam Deck and handheld devices, but mainly just PCs and laptops. 74.9% are rocking NVIDIA graphics cards, 15.9% are rocking AMD, and 8.7% are rocking Intel, and 0.3% are other. And I don't know what other is.
I was about to ask you the same question. I'm like, what hardware is that? Is that like custom hardware?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or is that like a custom driver, maybe running on an AMD or NVIDIA or Intel card that's just like... I'm guessing that's a custom driver, right? And then like Steam is like, what even is this?
Like we don't know what this hardware is. Yeah, it would have to be something like that. That's a lot. Like
Steven's making his own GPUs.
Thousands.
Sorry, you go.
Sorry, like 0.3% represents like hundreds of thousands or something like that too. Because like Steam has like 100+ million users or whatever it is, maybe more.
It'd have to be custom drivers.
So like 1% is like a million people, sort of thing. But anyway, outside of that, the top 10 GPUs, drum roll please, and these are all like old because hey, it's to be expected. Mainstream GPUs. The number one GPU is the GeForce GTX 1650, followed by the RTX 3060, followed by the GTX 1060, then the 3060 laptop GPU, the 2060, 3060 Ti, the 1050 Ti, the 3070, and then the 3050, and then the 1660 Super. So this is like the top 10 GPUs are all NVIDIA, and they're mostly like mainstream GPUs. And then just outside of the top 10, you've actually got the 3080, which is pretty impressive.
There's that
many people with 3080s out there, which is a high-end GPU.
Yeah.
I guess the big story this month, at least in terms of changing, because it takes a couple months for things to come into the picture. NVIDIA launched the RTX 4060 and the 4060 Ti a couple of months ago, and these are the mainstream GPUs for the Ada Lovelace generation, and will end up in the long run being the best-selling ones because they're the most affordable. That's just the way it goes. But the latest hardware survey means that these two GPUs are now in the list. The RTX 4060 appears pretty far down, but it's in there, and the RTX 4060 Ti, and then the 4060 is there as well. But what's interesting is that the 4060 Ti, according to this, is as popular as the most popular RDNA 3 GPU from AMD, which is the 7900 XTX, their flagship GPU. So there's just as many 4060 Ti's as there are 7900 XTXs out there.
Wow. That's interesting.
So, I mean, this obviously, and that's kind of like the only GPU from the RDNA 3 lineup that's actually in the list. Yeah, everything else gets lumped into... Actually, no, that's what other is. Other is every other GPU. That isn't included. Actually, no. Other is, in this case, like 10% covers like every other GPU model. Sorry. So all the other GPU models are, not significant enough in terms of like user base to count.
Okay. That makes more sense. Yeah.
So there's just not as many. There's not enough of them out there for it to actually factor in.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes
to a market share in terms of like the models.
So in the image in the article, what is AMD Radeon graphics?
That is the Steam Deck, apparently.
Really? Okay.
So there's a lot of like Steam Decks and like that's like SOC based or like Radeon graphics and like the laptops and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's kind of like a recent entry. Yeah, so it actually shows that there's quite a few Steam Decks and stuff out there. So it's super popular. And that's what like the Intel Iris Xe graphics and the Intel U8, all the Intel stuff is basically their laptop graphics.
Integrated graphics.
Yeah. So like the most popular Intel GPUs, the integrated graphics, and the most popular AMD Radeon GPUs, integrated graphics, followed by the RX 580. Anyway, this chart kind of like changes. Not a huge amount each month, but this month saw pretty much the 4060 lineup come in there, which means every single RTX 40 series GPU is in the list.
That's crazy. NVIDIA is just dominating. Yep.
The most popular is the 4070 Ti.
Yeah,
which kind of makes sense because it's still expensive, but it's super basically it's more powerful than the 3090. So it's like there's a lot of people buying powerful GPUs according to this.
Yeah, I think it's the switch into 1440p.
Yeah,
low 4K.
Yeah, and so like the Steam hardware survey also includes resolution stuff. So the most popular resolution people game at is still 1080p at 60%. But the second most popular is 1440p at close to 15%, and that's increased by 0.76% in the month, and whereas 1080p has decreased 0.72%. So showing that 40p is the fastest growing resolution.
Yeah. No, that makes more sense. Yeah.
So 0.76 could be like a million new 1440p gamers in August sort of thing. Like it doesn't sound like a lot when you say like less than 1%, but like this is percentage of all people using Steam to play games.
Yeah, I mean, look, even 0.14% in 4K, that's still a lot of people. Yeah. Like picking up a new 4K monitor.
It shows that 1080p is dropping off.
Yeah, we've got to be shifting out of that. Like, we've been at 1080p for, I don't know. I would like to see these charts. I wonder if it's possible over the course of, I don't know, let's say 5 years or something like that, or like 6 years, because I would bet that 1080p would be at like 80%. 90%.
Yeah, or like one of those, like, you know, those videos that you see on YouTube where it's like the timeline of like the most popular like TV shows or like this type of hardware, and then just like goes up and down the list, and like goes, oh, I remember that, and it's like it's super popular, and then it's like
that's exactly what I'm thinking
and
about.
it just disappears like in the space of a snap of your finger, but you just got like the Steam hardware charts. Somebody's just dumped it in there, and it's like just goes every month for the last 20 years of like
that would be so
GPUs
nice.
And like
that's just like eye candy.
Yeah, it is. Those are so they're kind of like meditation watching those videws. So you're just watching the charts go up.
Yeah, it's hypnotic if you like data like me and you. We're like, oh, look at that. Oh, there's 1280 by 800. Oh, there it goes. And then it just goes down to like the next one. How long do you think, just a guess, before we see it flipped? Before we see most gamers at 1440p? Ever? 5 years? I think it's going to be a long time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a long time, because you got to factor in, it kind of has to be like a mainstreamed. Like, so if you look at the top GPU, right? So whatever that like let's say the 3060, like that has to be a 1440p GPU. Like the top 10 have to be like GPUs that you would consider great for 1440p. And a lot of them are, but they're kind of like compromised a bit now, because a lot of people, like sometimes you hear like an argument, it's like, oh, NVIDIA's releasing or AMD has released a 1080p gaming GPU in 2023, right? What is this, the year 2015? You know, you had the 1070 or 1060 was a 1080p gaming GPU back like 7 years ago. But that doesn't factor in that if you're running a game at max settings now versus 5 or 6 years ago, there's a lot more going on, right? Like, it's not just resolution
and DLSS.
It's like that. You know, it's like texture quality, it's ray tracing, or it's the lighting, shadow. Like, you know, games are more visually intensive than they were. Like, you know, game visuals increase as well, which kind of, and also like the fact that we've got PS5 and Xbox Series X, games are going to start looking, or games have already started looking a lot better on PC, because it's like a flow-on effect. You know, like a PC gets like this more advanced version of a console game, and then when a new console comes out, basically every game starts looking better, like in the space of like a year or two. And that just means you need better hardware even to run 1080p. So I think we're probably like another 5 years away.
Yeah, I suppose that there's also the issue of like the jump in resolution between, let's say, I'm just looking at the chart here, say 1600 by 900 to 1080p. That's almost night and day. Like, any normal person can be able to look at that and go, that's clearly has higher visual fidelity, just looking at it. I don't think, and this pains me to say, that someone could look at 1080p and then 1440p, just your average layman console gamer that doesn't care, and be able to tell the difference straight away. I think they'd have to look for it.
Yeah, maybe not straight away, but I think...
So I think it's going to be a hard selling point to get them to move.
I think it is. If you're used to it, like, it's a hard selling point, right?
Yeah.
But if you game, or if you use a 1440p display for 6 months for day-to-day use, watching YouTube, chatting to friends, etc., playing games, right? And then you jump to 1080p.
Oh, it's awful.
You can be like, what the hell is this? This is like, what is this low res bullshit?
Yeah, but I don't. And you can even.
It goes that way, yeah. Like going the other way, it's like, oh yeah, I guess it's a bit better.
From 1080p to 4K though, I think you can. I think the average person might be able to. I just think like when you're going from like 1600 by 900. And then you're going to full HD, and all the marketing back then was like, you buy the full high definition monitors. Like,
I think
these are full HD. I don't know what they're going to say for 1440p, Like this is kind of like the middle ground between 1080p and 4K, but it's not really. It's like a little less than, like it's closer to 1080p than it is 4K.
I think PC gaming, it makes a massive difference, right? Because you're so close to your display, the pixel density is, especially when you're gaming and it's fast moving, it's really noticeable. When you spend a decent amount of time with the different resolutions.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to, let's say you like watching a movie on a couch that's like 3 meters or whatever from your 55-inch or 65-inch TV. Like when it comes to watching movies, like I'll watch a 1080p movie. I don't care. Like if it's like 1080p or if it's in 4K, as long as it hits that sort of like, you know, Blu-ray level full HD, that's fine. And it looks great, right? But if you're like firing up like Cyberpunk on a 27 or 32 inch and you're like really close to your display, you know, like going from 1080p to 4K, it's like I would not want to be playing that at 1080p.
Yeah, that's not.
Or like any game, like I don't want to be playing games at 1080p.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to like 4K or ultra wide, you know, 1440p. Like 1440p is kind of like entry level to me now in terms of like for what I want for gaming.
Definitely.
Like you get used to it. Like once you get used to it, like you can't go back. It's kind of like when I remember when you had 720p monitors, it was like, yeah, that's good enough.
Yeah. And then you got full HD, you're like, whoa.
Yeah,
this is nice. This is nice as hell. Okay. Is that about everything for the Steam hardware that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah.
That is.
Should we then potentially maybe wrap it up with the fun Xbox credit card story?
Yeah, we'll do a little touch on that, and then we'll just remind everyone that SpaceX is gearing up for the next the second orbital test flight of Starship, which is I don't know if you like rockets that potentially explode midair. Stay tuned for Stay tuned for the end of the episode where we just give a quick update on that. All right, let's get into the Xbox credit card. So Xbox has just
announces
Yep. Pardon me.
You read this because those are your words.
Yes, that's what I was about to do. I don't know. I don't really follow that much of Microsoft's ecosystem. That is a lot of Derek. Derek does fantastic coverage over at Tweetdown about all of this. And
I got a Series X and Series S, and I got a pretty high gamer score, so I well versed in the Xbox games, but like an Xbox credit card, who really knows what that means?
Yeah, what I was about to say was, did this come out of nowhere? That's how I interpreted it. I was like, because I'm not really covering a lot of what Microsoft does, I just saw this and I was like, this is bizarre. Like they're releasing their own credit card. What is this? So I'll just read a quick excerpt out of the article here. Officially called the Xbox MasterCard, Microsoft has announced via its website that the Xbox MasterCard will come with no annual fee and has been created in partnership with Barclays US Consumer Bank. So what will players be able to get with the new card? According to the press release, players will be able to earn card points with everyday purchases that can then be used to redeem games and add-ons. Notably, for every $1 spent on purchases, players will earn points, with players earning 5 times card points on eligible products at the Microsoft Store, 3 times card points on eligible streaming platforms such as Netflix and Disney+, 3 times card points on eligible dining delivery services such as Grubhub and DoorDash, and 1 times card points on everyday purchases. So there are more benefits to outline for this card. I'll just touch on a few here. Upon picking one of the cards up, the player will get 5,000 card points, which is worth $50 on their first purchase, along with 3 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for new Game Pass members after their first purchase. Notably, Microsoft writes that current Game Pass subscribers can easily gift the 3 months to a friend.
Yeah. They
which
should
is
just like
nice.
They should be like.
Why doesn't it just stack?
Who's going to get an Xbox MasterCard apart from like an Xbox super fan, right?
Yeah.
And they're already going to have Xbox Game Pass, so you'd think that it would just give them like a 3-month top up. So like what happens with like Game Pass is that because I've done Xbox coverage and I've worked with Xbox Australia, is that like if they give me like a 3-month code for Game Pass Ultimate, I just put that code in and then it adds it to however long I have on my Game Pass.
Yeah, stacks.
Yeah, so it just stacks.
Yeah, why would it not?
So it's a little bit, it doesn't seem...
That sucks.
That's kind of like sucky. But also as well, like, it's basically a credit card, like a reward point credit card, which has high interest rates in most places. I don't know the specifics on this.
Yeah.
And ding, 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 this is not financial advice. For financial advice, please speak to your...
Yes. Yeah. Read the fine print. This is definitely not financial advice. Maybe I could see this used... I'm trying to think of the person that would use this. Obviously, it's an Xbox superfan for you to even be thinking about doing this. But maybe you buy it and then just hook it up to your Netflix and subscription services, and then you're just collecting points that you can then... like,
you just buy Game Pass.
Buy Game Pass for free?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. But also as well, it's Microsoft points, which are kind of like their reward points, I think, or... they have an existing service where if you play games or you do get Game Pass challenges. I've been playing Xbox for like since the 360, right? And I've never even engaged with their reward point system. I just see like Microsoft reward points. I'm like, I'm not interested.
Do you think it's commonly used?
Potentially. I mean,
like,
they must have the data if they.
It warrants a card. Like, it must be used enough for them to warrant a card, or maybe it's not being used at all and they want people to use the points by announcing a card. I don't understand. I don't know, it's just a strange move. Like, are we going to see a PlayStation card now?
Probably not.
That would be funny.
Or they'd have to go with Visa, right? You got Visa, Sony Visa, Xbox MasterCard.
I don't know.
And Nintendo American Express.
Yeah, free online. Yeah, I don't know. It says
it's kind of like silly, right? But it's kind of like you just bust out. You've got a credit card that has Xbox on it.
I mean, it looks cool. It looks really cool. I like the black one. It looks sick. I kind of want one cool. Just to have it.
Got like the logo and
I don't know. Who is this for?
Right? Like, you should be able to design your own credit card, right? Like, you can just...
That would be cool.
You just...
tweet down shell.
You just just upload a picture, and then it's your credit card with a picture on it. If that's what this is, right? But obviously, it has like these reward points, and you can eligible... it also... Yeah, it's eligible products, and basically you're only getting it mainly for things that you buy from the Microsoft Store. And who's buying stuff from the Microsoft Store?
Yeah, I would like to see the data on this, and I also want to, like, we should take a bet now. Do you think this will be around in a year's time?
No.
You think this will be like a Google thing where they're like, oh, here's a new product, and then no one uses it, and they're like, it's gone?
Potentially. I don't know. Like, it's weird, and they created like this funky artwork for it too, the announcement.
It looks sick. Yeah, I don't know who this is for. I'd like to hear Derek's opinion on this. Maybe he would have like...
But the thing is, well, like, the Xbox MasterCard will be available in waves to Xbox insiders.
Yeah, it's first rolling out in the US.
Xbox Insider program.
Yeah, and then on globally... Where was it? Said it in the press release. It was globally at a later date or something like that. Hi, this is on the Xbox press release on the Xbox website. If you're an Xbox insider with residence in the continental United States, Alaska, or Hawaii, you can apply starting on September 21. The Xbox MasterCard will be available in waves to Xbox insiders throughout this fall. And then it said... but
you can put your gamer tag on it, so I guess that's automatically going to get them customers for sure. It's just like a thing. I would just say, like, here's my credit card. It's like an Xbox credit card.
Yeah, okay, so it says here, the Xbox MasterCard will be available exclusively to Xbox insiders in the 50 United States beginning on September 21, with availability to all Xbox players in the 50 United States coming in 2024. So this isn't a global release. This is just in the US.
Yeah.
Okay, I suppose because it's partnered with Barclays, US Consumer Bank. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I wonder if
other
this is going.
territories, but it's just it's more of like like you said, like it's just like makes no sense when you see it. Oh, new Xbox Mastercard.
Yeah.
Earn value of gaming. All right. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Who knows? Like, I don't know, like how many points you get. Because the thing is, like, reward point credit cards usually have higher interest rates.
Yeah.
But usually reward point cards work for every purchase, right?
Yeah,
like
and this is one
like a point for every dollar you spend or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is for every $1 spent on purchases, including. But if you get 5 times if you use that. Yeah, I don't know. Like. This is not financial advice. If you're an Xbox super fan and you want a cool Xbox credit card with a gamer tag on it, maybe, but yeah.
It ain't for me. I like it. I'd like to collect one. I just want one to have. That's it. That's about where my interest stops. Okay, so we should wrap this week's episode up. This is just a quick update on Starship, SpaceX's largest and most powerful rocket ever to take to the skies. If you remember, on April 20th, SpaceX conducted its first orbital launch attempt of the Starship launch vehicle, which is the rocket that Elon Musk wants to use to land and colonize Mars. It is the largest and most powerful rocket ever flown. And during that launch attempt, it exploded. There was a catastrophic fire on the... I can't remember exactly where it was or in what stage of the rocket, but essentially this fire severed communications. SpaceX engineers were unable to stabilize the rocket, which resulted in it tumbling out of control, and what SpaceX called a rapid deassembly protocol, which was... boom, gone. Explosion.
Yeah.
Lots of Greenpeace people were very upset about the explosion because it did like a lot of fuel went everywhere on the land. That one was bad. That one, not so good. They had to rebuild the launch pad as well, because when they set it off, stuff went flying. And like, I did articles on people, like cameramen that had cameras set up to take awesome angles of the rocket taking off, and then just chunks of the launch pad will just fly past, or like one of them destroyed a car. It was crazy. So they've made the necessary changes. Despite it being what seems like a failure on the outside, SpaceX deemed it a success because they didn't believe that this rocket was even going to get off the launch pad.
So exploding was a bonus.
I mean, it's a bonus for headlines, but they learned a lot during that test. I'm pretty sure it got to, I just want to get the correct altitude. It was shocking to everyone at SpaceX. They're like, oh my God, this is in the skies. It reached 24 miles before leaking propellant. So I'll just read a quick excerpt here. Alas, it did take flight, reaching an altitude of 24 miles before leaking propellant resulted in fires that severed communications and ultimately resulted in a complete loss of control and an eventual detonation. While the rocket was detonated midair, SpaceX learned a lot from the flight, and according to the update, the necessary changes to prevent these problems from happening, or at least they hope so, during the second orbital flight test. So they've implemented the necessary changes. Additionally, the team has implemented a, quote, full suite of system performance upgrades unrelated to any issues observed during the first flight test. For example, SpaceX has built and tested hot stage separation system, in which Starship's second stage engines will ignite to push the ship away from the booster. So for those that aren't, adept in rocket technology. So what typically happens is Super Heavy, in the instance of Starship, will be used to get Starship into like basically the lower atmosphere. And once it's reached a certain altitude, whatever that is, I'm unfamiliar with that number, they're meant to separate. And then the first stage has its own boosters to then propel it. To propel it. It's just to like reduce weight. The idea is that Super Heavy will then land back down on Earth as well, and the whole point of SpaceX is to create reusable rockets. that obviously didn't happen for the first test, and because the severed communications, we couldn't tell the rocket to separate its stages, and then it just started to tumble. So we exploded it. And now,
what do you think the chances then of the next flight not exploding?
Oh no, this could easily explode.
If you had to put it on, like, what chance do you think it's going to actually succeed? Successful mission. What are the chances of a successful?
25%.
25%. Yeah.
This is going to be a trial and error process. I don't know if you were. I wasn't even covering this on Tweaktown, but when Elon Musk was launching all of his Falcon rockets, and now they're like perfect work. Like the Falcon 9 is like a workhorse rocket. It is. Yeah. But before that, it was tragedy. Like every time that it would land it would explode. Like it would explode in the air. It was just, and he's just like, oh no, God, all of this money is just, every time it explodes, it's like hundreds of millions of dollars. And then they're like, yeah, we learned a little bit, but now we got to build another rocket. Yeah. So
I mean, that's right. Like, a lot of it's trial and error, but it's like very expensive trial and error.
It's very expensive, and luckily they've secured a lot of NASA contracts to like ferrying the astronauts from the International Space Station. It's billions of dollars that they've got confirmed coming into their business, and that's why they're able to make the largest and most powerful rocket in the world. That number of 25% chances of this actually reaching orbit, that might be generous. That is just my professional estimation of like if you were to ask Elon, everyone that was at SpaceX was shocked that it got off the launch pad.
Yeah.
So, and he said leading up to the first orbital attempt, there is a big chance that this is just going to explode on the launch pad. So it was impressive that it even got into the air. Crazy. It's a 394-foot rocket.
Yeah, I mean, that's how all this sort of stuff works, is that like it's like, well, there's a good chance it's not even going to get, like, you don't start with like a manned mission,
definitely
like
not
a manned rocket. Like, you don't, like, no space, like any sort of like NASA program has never started by like, let's put or even let's put like a chimp in there or whatever. Like, it's like we're not even at the animal testing stage.
Yeah. Nah, if this rocket can be, pardon me, if Starship can reach orbit, which is, I just want to get the correct amount of K. I'm pretty sure it's 100 kilometers. It's called the Kármán line. Is 100 kilometers is 60 miles. So if it can reach that, it is officially in space. So it is in Earth's orbit, and then I don't know how they're going to get it back down. I don't know even if they've thought it. I'm sure they've thought about it, but like that's an entirely new process of. Now you got to land a 394-foot rocket. We were just trying to get it off the launch pad. Now it's up there. Yeah. It's like, okay, now we got to bring it back down. And there's so many, if you just go on YouTube and look at like SpaceX rocket failings, most of them are when they're coming back down. Because it can, like, if you don't initiate the boosters at the right time, and I don't know, like, you got to deal with the making sure it's straight, and like there is so much that goes into it. But luckily, once you have done it multiple times and you've nailed all of the, like, you've turned all the knobs in the right way for it to work, and then it's working, it works continuously. I don't want to say forever, but it seems like the Falcon 9 can just and like the Falcon Heavy as well, it's the one that goes up. This is like one of the coolest pieces of technology that I think that humans have ever made, is the Falcon Heavy goes up. It's 2 Falcon 9 rockets, basically, for lack of a better word, taped together. And then they go up, and then when the stage separation happens, they land independently.
Right. That's cool.
It is very cool to watch. It is awesome. It's typically used for, well, Falcon Heavy, for heavier payloads. But yeah, it's 2 Falcon 9 rockets taped together. They go up, and then the stage separation happens, and they're like, and then they go, shh, and then land at the exact same time. It is awesome. I don't want to see Starship explode, but I think I'm gonna see it. explode probably 5 more times before it's just landing perfectly. This is an entirely new, like, no one has launched a rocket this big before and just tried to get it to land back in the same spot. It's going to be very difficult. Just to round off this subject or topic here, the only thing that is really stopping SpaceX from now launching Starship for its second orbital attempt is the stamp of approval from the Federal Aviation Administration, which is like basically the regulator of the skies in the US. They approve
red tape.
Yeah, all that red tape. They approve every launch. They've got to do all the checks to make sure that SpaceX's launch pad is up to standards. It's safety of the rocket. If it's going to spill propellant everywhere during the launch, there's so many boxes that need to be checked before something like this can occur. But the development is over. They've made all the necessary changes, implemented what they've learned from the first orbital launch attempt, and now we're just waiting for that big old stamp. So we can expect this, I would say. September. Musk just announced that it's all done now. Regulators typically take a while. We could see this before, I would estimate.
This is episode 3. What episode?
Oh, I don't know.
So let's talk in like TT show duration.
Oh no, that's way too hard. I think we'll do either October, November. This will happen before the end of the year. I would think.
Like episode 10, 12, 13, 15. By episode 15 it'll happen.
Yeah. This should happen in the next couple months because like the FAA will give them the stamp of approval. I'm sure they want to see it fly as much as SpaceX does. But yes, so do we have anything else to round off the end of the this week's episode, Kosta?
No, it's been pretty stacked.
We are
obviously
stacked.
Could talk about more and more, but we'll save some of the gold for next week.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for listening, guys. If you haven't already, please go like, comment, and subscribe, especially if you've made it this far.
Yeah, and obviously, we've got that awesome competition happening that we spoke about at the start of the show.
Yep.
So if you want 4 terabytes of storage, be sure to enter the giveaway because that's
definitely
quite a bit of game installs.
And we can expect to have more giveaways on this show, so stick around. You'll likely win some PC parts. All right. Thank you very much for listening, guys. See ya.
Thank you.